Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Fluffy and I'm back with another video for Worries and Wine. And today I'm sitting with my cousin.
Hello.
Her name is Trish, and fact check, really my cousin, okay?
Really.
Like, look at this picture. Oh, okay. All right, so aside from that, today, as you guys can see, we've got kind of a dark wine. It's red, but this is one of my favorites, and it's also one of her favorites. It's Froscato. We discovered it at Olive
Garden.
Yes.
Okay. The bomb, sweet red wine.
Yes, and it's got kind of like a little sparkle to it, and it's a nice taste. And this is one of those wines that if you don't feel like snacking on anything and you just want to drink, this is that wine. This is what it's for. So definitely check it out. The price that I found it at, Bevmo had it for $12.99. The grocery stores usually carry it.
Food for Less has it for $9.99. They usually have cheap prices on their liquor anyway, but $9.99. I think Ralph's has it for $9.99 sometimes.
Right, and sometimes Walmart carries it, but not all the time. It's like once they have it, it's immediately gone. So wherever you get it from, definitely get it, and I hope you have it for the rest of this episode as we have ours, okay?
Definitely gonna indulge.
So we are. This whole bottle will be gone tonight.
Done.
So with that being said, today we're gonna talk to Trish, who has dealt with a lot of grief, and she's had a lot of hardships, but yet she still has come out to being one of the most successful people that I know and have the pleasure of knowing. So I'm not saying that just because she's my cousin, but I'm just saying
you don't just be saying that now.
Right, yeah. But if you just look at her lifestyle and what has happened to her, which she's going to explain, and it's phenomenal. So Trish, go ahead and tell us about your grief that you had to deal with at a very young age.
Well, at a young age, I was 17 years old at the time, and my mother passed away from cancer. It was very sudden. I have two younger brothers at the time. They were 11 and 13. And then 4 months after that, our grandmother passed away. Yeah. So our grandmother passed away. Back to back, no break in between. So basically for me and my brothers, our whole structure was just like, took away from us. So so it was very, very difficult time. I mean, death is difficult for, anybody to really, experience. I said, but losing your parent, but both parents really, because our grandmother was like our parent too. That was definitely
she was definitely like the matriarch that brought our family together without bringing them together.
Right.
I mean, she didn't even drive, but she made sure we were at one house for every holiday, and be calling before. Are we coming over? Okay,
man.
All right.
She waiting is prompt too. Don't tell her you're gonna be there at 7 o'clock.
She gets a call in, right? Like, where you at? Making sure she didn't miss anything. So
big time.
That definitely was a hardship for our family to lose both people, because not only did we lose the matriarch, and then we lost your mom as well, and it just, tensions were high.
Very.
Tensions were high. So we lost our friendship during that time, because it was like everybody was so angry. Everybody's trying to deal with grief in their own way, and it just was so much going on for our family. Like, it
difficult. I mean, everybody handles grief differently. Yes. So, some people hold in their emotions, some people, lash out their emotions, and so it's never a right or a wrong way, to handle grief, and no one really knows how to handle it until you sit back and try to, fix yourself in the process of grieving. But yeah, for sure, like, all right, we were like this, and that right there was even like
that was grief itself. Yeah. Like, now I'm going through what I'm going through, and I can't even call, who I want to speak to. Right.
My ace coon is like, okay, wait, so what's really going on? So it was a whole lot of stuff, mixed in with that. So yeah.
And we overcame it, definitely. After a while, it took us some years.
It did.
It took us some years, and that was one of the hardships, I think, that we went through, and we had to go our separate ways and figure things out. And it wasn't until we were like adults that it was like,
until we started to kind of like realize, because it's not always one person's fault or whatever the case may be. Everybody's, like we said, grief brings out different types of emotions. You know, people are, you know, high rate of emotion. So it took for me personally to look back and say, okay, well, what did I do wrong, you know, in a situation?
We had to take accountability, right?
Exactly. And I think once we were at an age to where we can understand what accountability really is, which you really need to have in all relationships, you know, in order for them to thrive. I feel like that was like a pivotal point for me to like, hey, let me reach out and let's mend or try to mend. You know, you never know if that person on the other side really wants to mend a relationship with you, but you just have to be, you know, accountable and willing to try, you know, to see if, hey, can we, you know, bridge
this back
gap
together. Yeah, let's bridge it back and bring it back to what we, and it's not necessarily about what you used to have, but being able to be in a space where it's like, you love me, I love you, and we're good, you know, and we're not holding any negative feelings towards each other, because life is short, and we learned that really quickly, like with our grandmother, and then my aunt passing away. It was like you learned that life is so
very short,
and it was, you know, it was the hardest thing for us. But more so about you had all of that going on, and we were like teenagers, trying to enter into adulthood.
Yes.
Right. So how did that affect you with trying to be successful for yourself? Like, how did you school and how did you get to the point of saying, okay, now I want to be successful, but still having that as a burden? Because it was like for you absolutely had nobody to turn to. It was like, who am I going to talk to? Who am I going to go through life with? So how did that affect you?
I think for me, what I did, I don't necessarily know if it was a good thing. I'm starting to realize that I think it probably wasn't a good thing because it's kind of seeping out of my adult life. But what I did was kind of, I shifted my focus to what was driving me at the time, and it was my little brothers. So that was kind of like all I had left, and I didn't want them to grow up, you know, with any hardships or anything like that. So really, it was like I kicked in gear into motherhood, so to speak. So it was like I became mother bear. So that was something that I held on to kind of push me up, you know, towards success. And then on top of that, I've always been a go-getter type of person, you know, at a young age.
I mean, our whole family.
Our whole family. So it really wasn't like I didn't want to work, I didn't want to be successful, but, you know, going through that situation, of course, it gave me a lack of ambition, you know, because I didn't have, you know, my family members that I had once before. So really my brothers is what pushed me. And I've always told people trauma can either, it can either break you down to where you don't make any type of movement, or trauma can push you to want to be better and push you out of that situation, or just push you into a better life than what you're experiencing at the moment. And that's kind of like what I did. I just focused on that, giving them a better life, and then, you know, trying to live my life at the same time. And finding out, you know, what hobbies and things like that kind of made me feel like a kid, I guess you could say, like, again. Feel like my age, because I was 18, but I was
but it was like you had to be an adult. Like, and we're not talking about you had to be that grown adult. You know, it's one thing to say you're an adult and you're like 18 and you're trying to figure out life, but it was like all of a sudden you went from I was a kid literally a few months ago to now I have to fend for myself.
Fend for myself? Now I have to figure out how is rent going to be paid. Now I have to figure out how are we eating. You know, how am I going to eat? How my brothers get into school. This and the third. So yeah, it was definitely difficult. But what I can say is that, you know, my higher power was God. You know, everybody has their own religion, but, you know, with me, that's what I relied on. I was like, Lord, I know you're going to get me through, and I just put my faith in Him, and it was hard. I lost faith. You know, that's no lie. I lost faith. You know, I felt like, why is this happening to me? You know, why am I having to go through all this? But that's to really answer the question. That's really what I kind of put my mind on, was my brothers. You know, trying to make sure
let me put my energy here, and then that way I can utilize it to the best way and possibility.
It kind of numbed me though, and that's what I when I mentioned as far as. It may have not been the best thing because it numbed my own emotions, because I tended to.
So you had dealt with it.
I had dealt with it until I honestly I didn't deal with it until about 3 years ago. Wow, to be quite honest with you, 3 years ago is when I really started to focus on, you know, how I was feeling, because my emotions were coming out in my relationships, you know, and. What you call it, girl? I forgot the name. When you
vicariously?
No, when you're in a relationship with a significant other. I forgot that y'all know what I'm talking about. But those types of relationships. Intimacy. That's the word I was like, yeah. My intimate relationships, I was starting to see that, you know, there were some things that I was doing that I didn't realize. So I was like, you know, let me fix myself. Because I'm always the type of person, like, let me fix me and then try to, you know, move on or do whatever it is that I want to do. But yeah, so I just now started grieving, and it was difficult. You know, you go through the phases.
Right. So it's like you finally said, okay, let me take some time for myself and to properly grieve, because there's no time limit on grief.
Oh, no.
And that's I think that's important. A lot of people try to say, okay, somebody passed away for you, and then 3 months later you're over it. It doesn't work like that. You know, because for us, you know, going back to, you know, our grandmother and your mom, it was like we didn't even have time to process that we had just lost your mom, and then it was like grandma, like
right after,
like
yeah,
we were fine, like grandma, we just saw you, what do you mean? And then it was on my mom's birthday. So for us in my household, it was much more emotional, because it was like we were outside watching fireworks, and then we get a phone call, and then it was like, I'm going in the house.
Right. What can you do at that point?
Yeah, like, never mind. This was cool, but thank you. Yeah. But no thank you. You know, and it was tough. So to have that and then say, how do you grieve? So when you said, you know, you just started, you know, really going through the grieving process, how did you grieve? Like, what did you do to help yourself get through those days that were extremely hard?
What I would say for me, I meditated. And it's funny because years and years ago, I had someone come and tell me, you really should meditate. And I was like, meditate.
It's so hard. I'm too busy.
You know, yeah, exactly. I'm too busy. And then it's like, now when you meditate, you really have to listen to the thoughts that are going on in your head. So if you're not really ready, then you're not going to want to meditate. You're not going to do it the correct way. And I wasn't ready. So now what I do, I meditate if I have like thoughts of grandma, thoughts of my mom. I really try to just think of the happy moments that I had with them, and then just kind of reflect, like, you know, of course, I miss my mom, I miss my grandmother. I wish they was here to see the success. I wish they was here, you know, to walk me down the aisle. I wish they was here to see my kids grow up. But what I think about is, I know they're still watching me, and I just kind of look at it in a more positive way. I know that living here is not eternity. You know, eternity is, you know, up above, and wherever, you know, your religion is that you believe in, whatever that eternity is for you guys. But for, you know, for me, I'm like, I know that I'm not going to be here forever. I know that I'm going to see them soon. Well, not that soon, but Lord. Hold on, Lord. Hold on. We're not ready yet. This ain't a call to bring you home. But, but, you know, I just kind of look at it that way. I just try to look at things in a more positive perspective. But meditating really calms me. It makes me listen to my thoughts, and those thoughts that I'm having, if they are emotional thoughts, I cry. I let it out. Because a lot of times when people grieve, if they're not an emotional person, they hold it in. And they bottle it. And so then it explodes on whoever, whatever.
Is in their pathway.
Exactly. And so that is my release time. So I release through meditation on whatever emotion it is. If it's angry, if I'm angry, I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I'll probably put on some gangster music.
I'll sit like the whole thing.
I sit in my room and I just like get all those negative thoughts out. But I really just release, and whatever release it is, you know, that makes me feel comfortable and relieved, I do it.
Okay. And I think that's something important to note, is that, again, there is no time limit on grief.
Not at all.
And then you have to do what works for you. So for me, like, grieving for me it took a long time for me to realize, like, wow, you know, because it felt like in 1 year I had lost so much. You know, and for me, it was just like, I didn't start dealing with it until later on, because I kind of had a similar experience where it was like, dealing with relationships, it's like, I'm lashing out. I don't understand why, you know, because I'm already angry. I'm angry. I'm waking up and I'm angry. But in my head, you know, I'm just waking up and I don't understand why I'm angry. But it's like, because you haven't taken the time to deal with what you're holding on to. Because you're holding it, and that word suppression.
Oh, it's real.
It's real
and heavy.
and you carrying it and you thinking you doing all right, and then your friends are telling you, oh, one day you cool, one day you not, and they ready to diagnose you as bipolar. And that's not even the case. Like, I'm not bipolar. It's just I haven't dealt with the trauma.
And see, I really want to point to people, grief, like you said, there is it's not a time limit. So you always gonna grieve. I have a friend of mine who lost her mother when she was 18, same age as me, and she is now 56, and she has moments where she cries. So you're always gonna grieve, and we have to remember, grief has stages. So you have your acceptance, because
you gotta accept it.
Exactly, you have to accept it. And what was hard for me was my mother's birthday is on Christmas Day. So Christmas Day was like the holiday. So it was a holiday where we go over your house.
Right. At my house, we celebrating birthday. Everything. And then we giving Christmas gifts. Oh, gosh.
Yes.
Uncle Nate and them oranges, with the oranges and the peanuts. I swear I used to think he was giving us a nice gift.
I didn't understand.
And he was always giving us bags of oranges and pecans. What was we going to do with the pecans?
I can't stand pecans. I'm like, oh, no. It's like opening a bag of coal.
And he be sitting there smiling like he did something. I picked it out just for you. Like, thank you, Uncle Nate. But classic memory.
Yeah, super classic.
Super classic. But at the end of the day, when it came to it, and then you said, okay, now I'm gonna move past that, and now I'm gonna start this realm of being successful. How do you think it shaped you going through that, and now being able to say, hey, I'm successful? How did it shape you? How did you get there?
Well, as far as shaping, what I would say is, that's a tough question. I would say, as far as like my success, the shaping was more like, I lost everything. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna?
So was it like rock bottom?
Yeah, it was rock bottom. So I can't go no lower than that. So are you either gonna sit there in that spot and rut and just, swim in your emotions and why me? Or are you going to get out the situation and say, yes, that was me. This is what I went through, but this is where I am, and give back and pay it forward to people who are struggling. And that was kind of my perspective. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to make sure I'm going to get out of this because, one, like I said before, my brothers, I'm going to get out of this, make sure you guys are straight. You guys have some type of home structure. Two, I'm gonna make sure I'm successful because I know, as far as like what my mother taught me, the teachings that she taught me, and what grandmother taught me was always handle your own, always have your own, always be the best that you can be. And so those are the things that I kind of just kept repeating in my head. Do what you got to do, Trish. Take care of your business, but also do it at a pace that is feasible. Because a lot of times Libras. We're impatient. So, we want things overnight.
I want it right now. I want it right now.
It's my money and I want it now. So,
yes.
So that was some of the things that I feel helped structure me. And then just as far as, I'm going to go back to it, just having that positive mindset. So it wasn't always gravy, getting up to the top. And to be honest with y'all, I don't even feel like I'm at that successful peak that I want to be at just yet. Yes, I've definitely had, I've made a lot of progress and God has blessed me and I've done successful things. But as far as where I want to be, I feel like my true success to me is, of course, to get up to that pivotal where I want to be and be able to give back to those around me who are, in similar situations as me, who grew up in, harsh, environments or whatever the case, whatever the case may be. So that, I would say that's what kind of structured me to climb that ladder for success. Positive mindset, and sink or swim. You either you gonna be eating or you gonna eat.
Right.
That was kind of my thing.
So to sum it up, if we had to give a little bit of advice to someone who may be grieving, what would you tell that person?
I would tell that person, take it a day at a time. It's either you're going to sit there and soak, or you're either going to get up and you're going to move forward and you're going to try to be better than you were the day before. And a motivational line that I always like to use is either day one or one day. So is it one day you're going to get up and you're going to get yourself together, get out of this grief, try to get out of this grief, or it's going to be day one where I'm going to get up, I'm going to move around.
Right. You know, and we're starting this new journey.
I'm going to start this new journey.
Wow.
And it's not... And it's not to say that it's an easy thing to do. So I definitely want to stress that. It's not like I'm going to get up day one or one day.
Right.
No, it's definitely going to be times where you're like, oh, okay, day one. One day. You know?
Right.
But take it a day at a time. And just remember that those loved ones that were lost, they're always here in spirit. So it's either, you know, you gotta move forward and know that your loved ones are here in spirit. Mm-hmm. And you're going to think about all the positive things, all the good things that happened when they were here. You know, try to leave the negative thoughts behind and then try to move forward with positive thoughts about your loved ones. And I think that would be a good step to get through, you know, that stage. And then when you're out of that grieving stage and you get into that acceptance stage, then you'll be able to gather everything that, you know, you're able to accept and move on to the next stage. And that's kind of what I did. It's kind of like a suitcase.
Right.
You get a suitcase. While I'm in this grieving stage, I'm trying to, you know, get out of it. I'm thinking about the positive
ready
thoughts.
To unpack these thoughts.
Exactly. Unpack them, get the positive thoughts, put them in. Okay, now I'm moving on to the acceptance. You know, acceptance phase. And then you'll be able to look at all those things that you've brought with you, you know, as from the journey. Because like I said, it's a journey and it's a recycling journey. So you're always going to get back to that day where there's nothing left in your suitcase. Right. And you got to start over. So that's kind of how I look at things. I hope you guys are able to grasp that analogy. You just got it's always going to be baggage. So it's not something that you're going to be able to just, okay, whatever.
Right, I'm going to get rid of it. And
get rid of it. No, it happens. Ongoing.
Right, because like I said, even for us, it was a matter of, you know, not only were we grieving death, but we were grieving loss of friendship.
Oh,
you know,
yeah, definitely.
And you can grieve lots of things, and each one is different. So your grieving may not ever be the same. So just because you have... You know, okay, if you lost your mom and you're like, well, meditation helped me through that, but then you lose your dad and you find out exercising helped you got through that. It's not the same. So there's not a standard to grieving, you know, but it's just trying to find a positive way to deal with the grief and I say positive because there are people who will indulge in picking up the bottle, you know, substance abuse and things of that nature. And that can be detrimental for you in the long run. So, you know, for me, my recommendation is definitely finding what works for you in a positive manner, as you said, you know, and then that's healthy for you and also for the ones that are around you, because grief will have you lashing out at people. Grief will have you cussing people out that you don't even need to be cussing out. They need to be in your corner, but you didn't cuss them out. Now you ain't got nobody in your corner, so you feel even worse because now I'm grieving friendship loss, family loss, the death. I'm grieving all these things, and it's hard to deal with, you know, because it's just like, what do I do?
Right.
You know.
And one thing I do want to add too, if you feel that you're not making, you know, any progress, please do seek therapy.
Yes.
That was one of the things that that was hard for me to do at first. And that was one of the key points that I should have mentioned first that I did do. I definitely went to therapy. Because I was able to unpack those thoughts to a therapist who can sort them out, and then I can receive them in an organized manner. Yes. So that way I'll be able to understand what I'm really thinking in my mind. So definitely, if you're feeling like I can't get out of this slump, please do seek therapy, because like my cousin was saying, people they go to the bottle. Or they go to substances that make them feel better, and that's a slippery slope. Yeah, it's definitely a slippery slope.
It's very detrimental for you to go down the negative path, because not only do you think that you're getting away from your problems, you're actually not, because the moment that you sober up, the problems are there, and now you've grown to something that's more addicting, and you want to keep doing it and doing it and doing it, and next thing you know, you're losing everything around you. So that puts you even further away from the goal that you're originally trying to get to, which is to just deal with what's going on. And I am in therapy. As you guys know, I'm in therapy once a week. I've done the intensive group therapies, you know, with a group of people, and I've done it individually as well. And I definitely recommend it, because I think it's important to note that you said something, you know, that stood out, was it helped you sort.
Yes.
You know, and it helped you pick through what's important, what's not. Okay. And then it also helps you understand you, because if you are dealing with grief and you don't understand why you're lashing out, and you don't understand why, it's important to start picking those things apart. And saying, okay, now I'm making sense, and there's making light of what's going on. It's to understand yourself, you know. And a lot of people, and it's funny because in the Black culture, a lot of people make fun of those who need to go to therapy. You know, I've heard statements, "Oh, that's white people shit."
Right.
You know, and it's not.
We grew up like that. We grew up. There's still family members in our family that need to seek therapy, but they just don't want to do it. And I honestly think it's more of the older generation. I feel like millennials, we're more open to it.
Right.
But older generation, what you mean? I need therapy. Ain't nothing wrong with me. I ain't crazy.
Right. Because they
crazy.
Right. Because they come from a generation where when people would seek out help, it was mainly because somebody was actually crazy.
That's very true.
You know, and so I think that kind of played a role as to what they classified as crazy and to what we classify as crazy today.
Right.
Like the issues that we have seeking a therapist doesn't necessarily mean we're crazy. We might be acting out crazy, which is two different things versus, oh, this person's really insane. And I think that's where, you know, just coming from an older generation and noticing that, okay, well, black people didn't have money to afford that. So that's where the saying, oh, that's white people shit comes from. And
very true. That's a good statement.
Right. And it's important to note that because I feel like a lot of, you know, black people don't shed enough light on it's okay for you to go and sit down and talk to somebody else who will have an unbiased opinion about what's going on in your life.
Very true. And that's important, that word you use, unbiased, because a lot of times when we talk to family members, we're automatically, what they can be saying to us is true, but we're thinking they're judging us.
Right.
You know? So, oh no, so you judge me, so this is why you say that. No. That's why therapy is so important. That's one of the important factors. You're talking to someone who does not know you.
Right.
So whatever they judge you, they can't judge you.
They're just judging off of what you just said.
Exactly.
That's it.
That's it. Not what you did.
Not your lifestyle. Not if you used to use drugs. Not if you used to drink. You know, they're not judging you off of anything that they've heard in the streets. This person is completely giving you an unbiased, you know, disclosure of what they are hearing and processing and giving back to you, and then saying, hey, maybe you should try this, or you know, and being able to work it out. So again, in black culture, we don't have enough of that. So you guys know I'm the mental health advocate. I always stress that seeking therapy there's a way. It's affordable for everybody, and that's another thing, because back in the day, of course, black people, you know, we had the short end of the stick, so we weren't able to afford it. So that's another reason why you heard that statement. So now they've made it to where you can, on your phone, there's apps, there's, you know, you can go in, you can tell them you don't have any income, you can get a few therapy sessions for free. You can call your doctor and see if they have any connections. Right. There's so many ways to get therapy, to seek help. And if you feel like you are, like you said, you know, do I swim or do I, you know, do I sink?
Right.
And if you feel like you're sinking, then it's time to maybe you seek out other help if the regular coping mechanisms are not working.
Absolutely.
So I do want to stress that, because dealing with grief is not easy.
It's not.
And please don't let anybody make you feel like you should already be over it.
Not at all.
Don't ever let anybody, because I've seen a lot of people like, oh, that happened 10 years ago.
Why are you still tripping? What?
I'm still hurt by it. You know, so
trauma lives on.
Trauma will, and it will resurface. It will resurface to try you again.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like it'll come back for a rematch.
Yes.
Like I'm ready to fight again. So what's up? You know, and then you standing there like, well, okay. Like she said, sink or swim.
Sink or swim.
So you have become ultra successful from dealing with all of that, because that's a lot. That's a lot for one person. And
it is. And what I will say, it was heavy.
Yes,
that's a good word.
Heavy, right? It was
heavy. It was very heavy. But so, you know.
So let me ask you this: where do you feel like you are now?
I would say right now, because what you said as far as like how trauma will come back, it's coming back. You know, certain things are coming back, and now I put myself in a position to where, like what she said, do I sink or do I swim? And I'm swimming. So what I'm doing is addressing the trauma. What I think is working for me is reaching out to like family members that I feel like may have had a piece of the trauma, or may have I won't say initiated the trauma, but were just involved in the trauma. I'm reaching out to those family members just to have some closure. And I think with me personally, the closure is what's helping me fight the traumas, you know, that's coming back to me. So, but it was definitely heavy. And I would say, rating myself right now, if I was to do like a scale 1 to 10, and 10 being like I got this under control.
Right.
I would say I'm a good strong 7.
Okay.
I'm a good strong 7 because one thing we have to know is that when you're going through trauma, that doesn't stop the life that's currently happening.
Right.
So you can
still gotta go through trauma that happened 10 years ago, but you're also dealing with the drama.
The drama or just life.
Of today.
You know what I mean? So, and the perfect example would be like COVID-19. Like there are lots of people who are losing family members. So not only did you have trauma that you were dealing with that happened 10 years ago, but now you're facing new trauma today, you know? So it's a lot of life factors that I feel like right now are trying to get at me a little bit. But what I'm doing is, like what I mentioned earlier, I've been meditating. I'm going back to see my therapist just to talk about some things, to get those thoughts out, rearrange them, organize them so I can accept them back and understand what I'm actually thinking.
Right.
And, you know, moving from there. So I'm a good 7 right now. I'm a good 7.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, I'm a good 7.
Yeah, I think if I had to rate myself on a scale, I want to say, now that I'm doing this show, I would say I'm at a good 8.
Good.
Because this, you know, having this type of environment where I can have these intimate conversations that don't get to happen has helped me realize how much I'm growing, how much I've grown, and where I need to grow.
Right. And that you're not alone.
Right. And I'm not alone in any of these thoughts. And it's important to know that when you guys are dealing with grief, you're not alone.
Right.
There's another group of people that you can always reach out to and help you sort through. So I think it's important to note that. But if you guys are dealing with grief, again, and I will express this, that either find someone that you can speak to about it, understand that you're not alone, understand it will cause you to either feel like you are either going to sink or swim in however you deal with it. But it's important to make sure that you have some type of coping mechanism that is a positive coping mechanism to help you get through it. Because if you don't have that, it's going to be very hard. It's going to be very hard. And one thing we also noted was that grief isn't easy. It's not. It is hard. You know, nothing about grief is easy at all. Even just the word grief sounds grotesque. It just sounds like an ugly word. You know, it's like, oh, I'm grieving, and it's grief, and it's hard, you know. It's difficult. But find those people that can help you and indulge in the positive things. And with that being said, you guys, we are going to end this episode. And Trish, I want to thank you for being a part of this.
Not a problem.
Because this was informative. You know, I got to, you know, talk to my cousin in an intimate manner where we don't really get to do that because it's always we're in passing and we're hurrying up. So
we're working. And
working and life is happening, you know, for each one of us. So
let's toast to this.
Yes. It's okay to have your worries and wine. Thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. So that way you can be notified when I decide to drop another video or go live. Until the next episode, you guys, we'll see you later. And peace out.
Peace out.
Yeah, we look cute. We do. Oh, I'm screenshot it. I'm leaving this part on here too.
Oh my God.
I'm leaving that part on here when she said that message with that.